Welcome back to part T with Becky and Kenzie. Before we start, Becky has a tea message for us today.
Yes, so I'm back to drinking tea now that it's colder out. So today's tea message for you guys is a garden is a delight to the eye and a solace for the soul.
I
So
love that.
hopefully that goes with today's theme.
Mhm. I think it does because our soul is, our garden, and whatever you feed it, it grows. So if we can feed it positive things, I think that goes along with what we're trying to do for today's topic,
And
which we'll get
protecting
into. Yes.
our soul from today's topic.
So obviously the holidays are coming up, and they're supposed to be this joyful, cheerful time of celebration spent with family and friends and loved ones. But what happens when maybe the family that you have or the places that you're invited to go maybe feel more forced, or you're going to be around negative people? um, it can become a little more stressful than it is fun around the holidays for some people. So, these 10 tips will help navigate through those situations during the holidays and hopefully make them a little more enjoyable. So, our official topic of this video is 10 tips for surviving the holidays. So, we're going to start with number one, being do something relaxing before the gathering. Get yourself into the right headspace, decrease your stress level instead of adding to it. When we spend all day anticipating how horrible the event is going to be and how, Aunt Sally is going to nag me about this, you're just adding more stress to the day that you don't need to. So try not to think about the event itself until you're there, and do something relaxing for yourself, so you're not anticipating this anxiety. Some of our tips are always grounding techniques are the best thing to do to sort of get yourself in the right space. You can do this before, during, and after the event. You don't have to do it one time. Some of those grounding techniques are just saying affirmations like, may I be at ease. If somebody says something that might trigger you, may I be at ease. May I am in control of my reaction. Some other grounding techniques or things you can do to relax, Becky will go into now.
Yes, so some of my favorite things to ground myself, especially around the holiday time, when you have that little auntie who maybe likes to mention, oh, you gained some weight, or why aren't you married? Why don't you have kids? Why? They want to know, all of these things. And you're just like, so with that, I like to, before um, going to any kind of event, I like to meditate. You can do yoga, essential oils, oil all the things, crystals, all the crystals. Sage can be one protective herb. And I also like to go outside. Being outside in nature is a really great way to ground yourself, have more peace within. Because my affirmations sometimes are like, I don't give a F what, what anyone thinks or what anyone says,
Yeah.
stuff like that. This time of year, I've tried to really focus on being more mindful of not being so grinchy around the holiday season, and just really, celebrating as Violet gets older. I want her to have really good, happy memories, especially around the holidays, and just focus on that and kind of drown out the rest.
I love that. Yeah, it definitely helps to, even like we said, you can do this before, but you can also bring your oils with you, bring your crystals with you,
Yes.
hold them with you. It's a very protective feeling. You can also, step outside while you're at whatever gathering you're at to just gather yourself
Mhm.
and come back to yourself. So, great tips for before, during, and after. Um, tip number two for surviving the holidays is minimizing your contact with difficult relatives or people, friends, loved ones, um, and spending more time interacting with the people that you like, that lift you up, that don't make you feel, stuck. So this might be easier said than done, especially if you are all in a room together and you have to be around that person, but just move to another room or, find the people that you do want to interact and talk with. Um, number three might also help you in minimizing your contact, maybe shutting down some of those comments that are unnecessary. So, tip number three is state your boundaries. If someone is bringing up a topic that you don't want to talk about, like Becky said, when are you getting married? Are you having kids? When are you going to get a real job? I love hearing that one because we're in a creative field. So it's like, well, when are you going to get a real job? And it's like, I
And
have
be
a real job.
miserable.
So, simply just saying, I'd rather not discuss that decision with you right now, or I'm completely happy with my, occupation choice. Thank you for being concerned, or just saying, that's not up for discussion right now. Appreciate your thoughts. You can say a myriad of different boundaries. I'm sorry you don't like my choice, but this is what I stand by. I prefer not to discuss this. If you continue, you can state a consequence even. If you continue to bring this up, I'm not going to continue this conversation. So being really firm and sticking your ground with your boundaries around topics that you don't want to participate in, you don't have to. So try again not to take things too personally, because it is just them projecting what they think you should be doing or what they never did correctly, so they want to tell you what to do or whatever it is. So try not to take the things they're saying personally and just stick firm in your boundaries. um, Tip number four, have something prepped to make you happy. So I thought of this because if you are in a situation where you're sort of forced to be there and you can't really get out of the situation, have a picture, a loving text from a friend, something that you can look at that will automatically put a smile on your face. When something negative triggers you, just look at that or think about your happy memory or reminder and try to focus on that instead of the negativity that's coming your way. So that way, if you have this prepped beforehand, okay, as soon as somebody says something negative, I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to look at my happiness reminder. Um, you know, no, I don't know if that will work. I've never tried it, but I just thought of it and I feel like that will definitely be something that could help, because our happiness triggers are just as important as knowing what negatively triggers us. Tip number five is having an exit strategy. So this one is very important if things get too overwhelming, or you don't want to feel like you're stuck and you can't get out. So prepping your exit strategy before you get to the gathering is usually very helpful. So whether you have to arrange to drive separately so that you can leave whenever you want, or if you have a code word to tell whoever your ride is to let them know you're ready to go, or a signal to someone to help you out of a conversation that you don't want to be in. Those are all good exit strategies to have prepped beforehand. So that way you don't feel stuck and like you have to be there. So our next 5 tips, Becky is going to go into to finish up.
Yes, I love a good exit strategy. I think I do the have something prepped. I'll text a friend or,
Yeah.
do something like that. I like that one. Tip number 6, I have don't stay for dessert. That's a good time, after everyone's eaten. That's kind of like a little exit strategy to coincide with Kenzie's tip. I also have moved to another room. I guess mine were very short because I felt like a ninja, kind of like, because these are the things that I do in places where I feel like there's negative energy. I have a simple one is just go to the bathroom. You know,
Mhm.
that'll be a space where you're alone. You can kind of breathe and just take a few minutes, even if you don't have to pee, just go and, kind of like do some breathing exercises to try to reground yourself. Um, and then one of my favorites, tip number 9, I have you're not cemented to the ground. Leave if you're too uncomfortable with my favorite goodbye, which is the Irish goodbye.
Mhm.
If it's too much, like Kenzie said, if it's overwhelming, the holidays can be overwhelming, which is why I think this time of year I would tend to be a little more cranky than normal because
Mhm.
it's a lot. It's a lot of stimulation. It's a lot of people. The one good thing about the pandemic, you can use the excuse or use the pandemic as an excuse to not go. That's my tip number 10 is don't go at all or avoid anyone at the party who drains your energy. So
Mhm.
that I find for things that maybe you feel like you have to go to, just say, I'm not going out right now because of the pandemic, or I'm staying home because of the pandemic. It's too it's too germy out there,
Yeah. It
um
Yeah, you don't even have to give an explanation either. Like, it doesn't have to be a true explanation. You can use that excuse and just,
yeah,
"I'm choosing not to, be around a lot of people right now."
yeah,
Point blank. You don't need to further explain.
yeah. So I guess those are our 10 tips, but we have a little bit of extra stuff. We love a good ritual, and we love, you know, the tips, but then okay, what do you do when you come home? Because
Mhm.
you kind of that stuff, that negative energy kind of might still be stuck to you. So I have here when you come home, take a shower, wash off all that negativity, visualize like, the water kind of like cleansing all that negative energy and going down the drain. Get into comfy clothes, meditate some more, and then you can garbage journal. So I know I've been in situations or parties where people like to point out negative things or say maybe some of my flaws or just not not nice comments. Like I didn't need to know that, oh, maybe I gained a little weight because yeah, maybe I don't know that my clothes feel a little tight or stuff like that. So garbage journal that out, whatever stuff, because that stuff like that, depending on my Gemini mood, sometimes it'll roll off me, other times it'll stick to me like glue. And that's the time when you feel like this negative energy is sticking to you, you need to get it out. So garbage journaling is a great way to do that. Always, we love breathing out and releasing our feelings. Breathing is very, very good to kind of cleanse your energy, make you more relaxed. I have yell into a pillow, or one of my other favorites is yelling in the car when I'm by myself. So if I'm by myself, well, I'll yell in the car by myself, not with Violet or when someone, it's kind of like my own space to just
Yeah.
yell. Um, and then I kind of wrote this also, I think, as reminders for myself because I grew up,
Yeah.
my family is my mom's family. I don't talk about this a lot. Um, but after that last lunar eclipse, it was kind of bringing up some stuff that was
Mhm.
bothering me about the past, and just really reminding myself like my mom's family is my family. That's the only family that I've ever known, and they've never made me feel like this. There were other sides, or other people who have. So I have here, you are allowed, and this is for anyone. Sometimes we need to hear these things to make it okay because we have that like guilt, like, oh, well, I can't just disown my family. And I'm here like, yeah, you can disown your family, but you are allowed to not want to be around your family around the holidays. I never understood why I would see people like going on trips or going on vacation, like at Christmas or Thanksgiving, and I'm like, but I don't understand this. Like that's the time where like my whole family like gets together, we spend time growing like as an adult. I'm like, oh, now I get it. Like now
Yeah.
I understand. You are allowed to protect your mind and your mental health from any kind of family guilt, or family guilt trips, gaslighting, narcissist, or manipulation. I'm very familiar with this, with some relatives. Again, family, I separate them. My family are the people that I've grown up with. Relatives are people that are just related to me,
Mm,
that I didn't have a choice in the matter.
right.
So I kind of separate them. Um, you're allowed you're allowed to disown your own blood if they have been a root cause in harming your mental health and your mental stability. This is a huge one, going to therapy and trying to heal past traumas, past generational traumas,
Mm,
past, you know, relative stuff, like
mm,
me trying to heal like the world that's related to me, through myself because stuff was dumped on me that I thought was my fault. When in reality, they were the adult or they were older. I think I've said this before, like my family, they're not my burden to bear. They're their stuff. Um, you're not a bad person for doing this. You're protecting yourself and you're healing generational traumas. If that's important to you, if it's important to you to disconnect, disconnect. It's okay. You
yeah.
will find, I have friends who are also my family. You
Mm,
know, you can choose your family, the people that come into your lives that treat you like family should, right? We try not to say should, but should. This is
yes.
how family should treat you. Then I have another one that I've never actually done this ritual. Um, Again, things pop up and I'm like, like kind of like when I'm going through some stuff and love a good ritual, like these rituals pop up and I'm like, yeah, that I feel like I need this like right now. So it's called a salt bowl ritual. So some of you may have heard of this, some of you might not have. I feel like I've heard of this, but maybe I just wasn't paying attention, or I'm like, oh, okay, because I use salt like taking a bath. That's like the purpose of salt, cleanses and detoxes, and I use that more so for my body, but I never thought to use it for my home. And I may have like, what is it like if you spill salt then you have to throw it over your shoulder, so
Yeah.
like that's the only time where I'm like flinging salt.
Sense.
So the salt bowl ritual, if you're having the party at your house where you have to now invite these people into your sacred space, into your protective, like positive energy zone, you can do this a couple days before. Um, so it's also a non-smoke way to energetically cleanse your space, right? We talk about using sage and all that.
Mhm.
Some people can't uh, be around smoke of any kind. So this is a great way. You want to use a non-porous bowl. So the salt doesn't kind of like if you put in plastic, it might eat the plastic or it'll probably ruin a wooden bowl. I personally prefer to use glass with any kind of stuff like this, just because I feel like glass is like my go-to. And I like to use
Mhm.
clear glass bowls for, I guess I always put salt in clear glass bowls. I guess it's an energy thing because I want to see
Yeah.
maybe like the actual salt. You can add any additional herbs or essential oils for protection. Some of my favorite protective herbs, which this is a new one that's been popping up. This has popped up when we had Violet's baby blessing last year, which is rue. Rue
Mm.
is such a, I don't, it's an herb I haven't worked with, but again, it pop like being like in like the herbalist community, like having plant allies, herbs kind of pop up like to me, or I'm like, it's like they're calling me.
Right.
So rue is very protective and it smells amazing. It felt almost familiar to me
Mm.
when I first smelled it, and I was like, this like there's something with this. Um, you can use basil, yarrow, mugwort, myrtle, lavender, juniper, sage, or any herb that's calling you or that you're called to for protection. Any oil, any use what intuitively you feel will give you that protection. Like we can tell you use this, and this, but maybe rue doesn't make you feel the same way like that it makes me feel, or maybe you don't like lavender. Totally okay. Use what you like. It's best to use natural salts like sea salt or Himalayan salt rather than the commercialized industrialized salts. And you can also use the fancy salts, but you can mix your fancy salts with sea salt and Himalayan salt. So you're not using like $30 salt. Like, you know, and so I don't know if you guys have heard of this before, but when you grid your home, so I've grid my home like with crystals. It's just a way of keeping your home's energy in check, right? So the four corners of your home or the four corners of a room, anywhere you can do the whole house, and then you can kind of like go room by room depending. It's just what is that? Like the
Mm.
flow, the energy, the yin, the yang, the chi, like the life force, everything. Just to keep that, because I know when our house is very old. I know when the energy is kind of stagnant, and then I'm like, okay, then I'm like breaking out all my, all my things to kind of cleanse the energy. And let's see. So you're gonna place the salt bowls in the corners of your house or the room, or by a frequently used entry door. You can let the salt sit for a few days before and a few days after the party to be a magnet to pull out any negative energy that's hanging out in your house. This most important tip with this salt ball, this salt is not for consumption. You're not going to use this. You're not going to cook with this. You're not going to ingest it. You are not going to consume any of this salt. It's very important to keep it away from your pets and their paws. Um, this salt is not going to become a knickknack in your house, and it's not going to stay permanently. You're going to throw this salt out when you feel like the salt is no longer energetically cleansing your house anymore. So if it's when you start to feel that stagnation, or when you're kind of like, I don't think this is working anymore. Okay, time to toss it.
Right.
Um, I thought that that was a really good, salt is so cleansing, detox,
Mhm.
purifying. The beach, why do we feel so much better at the beach? We're breathing in that salt air. So I'm like, any way to get the beach into my house,
Yeah.
I will like live on a salt mound. you know. Um
They even have, like, healing salt caves, like, there's a reason
yes,
salt is, like,
yes.
so
I
important.
think I don't know if we still have one, because again, like everything with not being able to, like, so many places have closed and stuff. I totally
Yeah,
forgot about those. Yes, those places. Oh my God. That it's so great to breathe that in. I think like for sinus, people
yeah.
with allergies, like, or even just like for your mental health, like
Mhm.
breathing in. I have to put that on my list of like things like to do.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
it's
I
so
have
relaxing, and it's you obviously wanna find a place that has the salt imported from, like, a
yeah,
good
like a
place, like,
real
do your
real Himalayan
research,
salt.
like, it's not 'cause it has become, like, sort of like a fad thing to do, so you wanna make sure you're finding a place that has, cleansed
Yes.
salt energy, not more negative
Mhm.
energy.
Even, I have a couple, let me see, how many do I have now? Maybe I just have one now. Salt lamps. So
Yes,
I
I do
had,
too.
a huge one, but because they kind of start to melt and like get kind of gross,
Mhm.
so I'm like, all right, there's got to be, like, I was looking for a new salt lamp and I found on Amazon, it was really pretty. It was a tree of life and it was like a lamp
Oh, that's so cool.
with a hole, and it was chunks of Himalayan salt, like,
Oh,
so
that's
so it
really
was like contained. So I'm like,
yeah.
oh, be still my heart, not a mess, like, because I was always wiping salt and I think it like scratched up like my dresser and everything. But when you said about, so I bought that, it came with the salt, it wasn't actually Himalayan, it was fake. It wasn't, not fake salt, but it was fake Himalayan salt. So I ended
Right,
up having to buy separately real Himalayan salt
right.
chunks, and I just got rid of, and it was weird because when I opened it, immediately I could feel, I'm like, this is not the right energy for this lamp.
Right.
This is not real, like the real Himalayan salt. Um, so yes, definitely important. Got to watch out for those when
Yeah,
things are trending. A lot of like fake duplicates, I guess, or just fake, or even just like crystals, like fake
mm,
crystals. I see online, like in crystal groups, where people are like, oh, I just spent whatever on all these crystals, and people are like, that's like painted glass or dyed glass, or like that's
I always
not.
get so nervous getting because I do a lot of farmers markets for my
Mhm.
business and a lot of vendors that are at certain markets, a lot of them do crystal stuff, and I'm always, like, wary of getting stuff from other people because like,
Yeah.
I don't know where they source it from or if they even if they tell me where they source it from, I'm like, "But I don't really
Is
know."
it real?
Like,
So
so
if it's a
hard.
real crystal, it'll feel cold to the
Right.
touch, or like, I guess like a rock. Like, and I think
Yeah.
there's, because there was somebody, which I don't know if I could ever do this. Certain crystals are like, put a lighter to it, and then, but
Okay.
obviously you need to do this outside with like a respirator on. Like, I wouldn't be like
Yeah.
using open flames with a material that you don't know what it actually is,
Right.
because black smoke is not good to be inhaling.
Yeah. We
Um,
don't need that.
yeah, yeah. So I think just, we have some local crystal shops here. That's normally where
That's
I
where
get
I'll
my
go, yeah.
crystals. I have like bags of crystals, and then I'm like, I don't even know what I bought. I keep the little tags on them on
Yeah,
the bottom, like the little stickers, because I'm like, I'm not gonna remember what
I
this
know.
like random crystal is.
Yeah,
Like, so that I was like, ooh,
it's so funny.
yeah. And then, so the last thing that I have on here, I know being in these situations, like these holiday survival modes, it's exhausting. So here I have, and again, maybe this was like a note to self, because again, a lot of stuff was coming up for me. So I have exhaustion and separation to regain autonomy.
Mhm.
Autonomy is so important to me. Um, you know, to have control within myself, not to have somebody else controlling me. That's really, really important to me.
Mhm.
So one of the things that was coming up for me with this last lunar eclipse was users, people who use you, friends, but are they really friends, or are they just using you? So have here, stop putting your energy into the users, the ones who only need you when they want something from you. And once you're no longer of use to them, they stop talking to you.
Mhm.
Stop going out of your way for people who wouldn't even hold the door open for you, or the people who wouldn't be there for you at your worst. I
Mhm.
don't need people to celebrate with me. I mean, it's nice, to
Right.
celebrate, but I would rather have someone there when I'm at my worst.
Mm,
That's who I know who's like a true friend, or a true
right.
um, person that's not just using me for whatever reason. Um,
Mhm.
and I went through, there is a grief and anger process with this, but for me, it was a little bit more different. I was more angry at myself
Mm.
and taking it out on myself, that I should have known better. I should have seen it sooner when someone was just
Right.
using me and not being a true friend or family. Um, and you're allowed to be gentle with yourself because, again, note to self, you are allowed to be gentle with yourself and give yourself grace for whenever you started to realize these things. No self loathing, no berating yourself. This is very hard for me to do, for me to not do when I make mistakes. I know that's like, I just beat myself up, over things that really, like, how, like, okay, how could I have not seen it if someone is maybe that charismatic or that, I guess, manipulative,
Mhm.
in a way
Yeah.
that me trying to be the helper and the giver is trying to
Mhm.
help, but
Yeah.
then it's depleting my energy and then I'm exhausted. And this is not to say that, oh, if I help you, you have to help me. It's like a genuine thing.
Right.
It gets to that point where it's like there's only so much I can give, like,
Right.
without just being depleted of my energy. So it's
Mhm.
more like an energy thing. Um, so I started noticing that and I did get really angry and then I got upset, but it was more so within myself.
Right.
And
Something I just
yeah.
um I was doing like these journal prompts for the eclipse that just came up,
Mhm.
and one of the prompts was uh sort of like, okay, think about this year, like what have you grown from, what perspectives have shifted. And in that question of what perspectives have shifted, that's supposed to be like, I guess, like a positive prompt, like, oh, what old things have I let go and new things have I come to realize. But just like you, it sort of made me feel bad and like almost guilt myself for like, how did I not know these things beforehand? Like, and I was sort of guilting myself around that question rather than being grateful for finally coming to that, realization about certain things or changing my perception on things. And I had to like literally stop and like tell myself, like, look in the mirror and say, like, I forgive you.
Oh,
Like kind of telling yourself, like, it's okay. Like you didn't know what you didn't know, like at that time. And
it's
that
hard.
was like really hard to be like, you just have to start from where you are now and go forward. Like you can't change, what you didn't know in the past or what your perception was. So I definitely relate to that.
Ah, that affirmation just got me.
I know. I'm
I'm
like,
like
sorry.
I'm like, "Ah, geez," I'm just, like, turning as red as my hibiscus tea. Um, yeah, I gotta try to say that.
Yeah, it's hard to remember to tell yourself that too, because you know, as we grow, we're always trying to forgive others and move on. Forgiving doesn't mean keeping somebody in your life, but it just means that you can move on from their energy. But we forget to like forgive ourselves and like give ourselves that permission to keep going and move on from things. So yeah,
This is why these freaking this is why I'm like, F you," like,
I
in
know.
affirmations, 'cause I'm, like, gonna be crying in the
I
mirror.
know. I know. And it's something, do it on your own, like
Yeah.
by yourself and like really look at yourself, cry if you have to, like tell yourself you love yourself and you forgive yourself. Like, because we don't hear that enough from other people, but we need to hear it more from our own selves. So I
I
feel like,
wonder, yeah, because the last couple weeks, like, I've had where I kept feeling like I was like, "I need to schedule a time to cry,"
yeah,
because, like, I feel like there is a lot of, like,
built
grief
up.
and sadness, like, but it
Yeah.
was stuck, and
Hmm.
anytime I get, like, a stuck emotion, then I'm like, "All right, Chinese medicine, where are you?"
Yeah.
Okay, let's move this energy. So I started and I'm laughing because just this morning, my best friend was telling me about some show that she's watching. She's hysterically crying. Like, and I'm laughing because I'm watching on Hulu the show 911. I
Okay.
love that show. I am bawling throughout, like, every episode, but I'm like, "Okay, this is how I'm gonna get," like, and I'm ugly crying, like, hysterically, like,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
and my best friend, she's like, "We have to get we have to get hobbies. And I'm like, yeah, this is our hobby. Binge watching TV, hysterically crying. Like that's our hobby.
Sometimes I do that, like, I'll just put on a movie that I know is sad just to get
Oh,
myself to feel something,
yeah.
just to be like, "Ugh, I need to cry," like, for whatever reason, even if I don't know why, and it just needs to come out, like, I'll
Yeah.
put on, like, a sad movie or, like, whatever it is just to, like, get it out because it is important to, like, release that when it's feeling stuck, so
Yeah, because it was starting to give me anxiety because I'm like,
yeah.
okay, I was feeling really uncomfortable like in my own
Mhm.
skin, and I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, what the hell? Like, I
yeah,
know like I'm going through like, thinking about like all the people or like the friends or whoever like in the past have like used me and I didn't see it and like,
yeah.
and then it's like, all right, and cry. And then it's like it like work like that
Right.
or like in the worst moments, where it's like I feel like I have to cry. Like now I don't care if I'm in a store. There's been times in a store where I'm just like, I'm just gonna cry. I don't care.
That really
People
happened
stay
to
away
me.
from me.
Yeah, that happened to me recently too. We were, like, going through this holiday light show thing.
Oh, the
For some
holiday lights.
for some reason, I just got so like, I was in my head about something, and I just started, like, crying to myself, and I'm, like, trying to be happy because everyone's, like, all happy. It was for my birthday, and I was,
Oh,
like, trying to hide it because I was just like, "This is supposed to be, like, fun and happy," and I am enjoying it, but, like, for some reason, this emotion is taking over more than what I'm actually experiencing. So, I
that
definitely get it.
that happened to me too. We took Violet. There was this really pretty one of the towns here did like Christmas decorations outside and you could walk through at
Yeah.
night, like this little park. When we get there, and it was so cold that night. So I'm like bundling myself, bundling Violet. Finally, I'm walking like a snowman because there was so many layers on. And we get there like to the decorations. And thank God it was dark.
Mhm.
I just start crying. Like I'm just like, this is so beautiful. Like it was like,
Yeah.
this is so stupid. Like what is like what,
Yep,
and I'm just like and
yep,
like and my husband, he's like, "Are you crying?" And I'm like, "You should be quiet, like
yeah.
nothing's happening here, like and then he kind of just giggles, because he's used to it.
Ye
And it's almost like when he says that, then I'll start laughing. So it's like
right. It brings
it's
you back, yeah.
yeah.
It's a
And then
good balance.
when we saw Santa, the second time I think, because we took her to something else. The first Santa introduction did not go well.
Mhm.
Um, and the second time, because he gave her a little bell, which was really
Aw,
cute, and we didn't know, like, how she would react, and she actually smiled, and I was
aw,
like
good.
she's giving him side eye,
Yeah.
and I'm, like, crying, like, and I'm like, "This is so stupid," like, but it's like, saying it out loud sounds silly, but in the moment, it's like I think it's just, like, you're like overcome with like happy
So
emotions and then
many
like
things.
thinking about the past and then thinking
Mhm.
about your childhood and then all the things that you've healed and then all
Right.
the crap ass people like in your life and then like it's just like this mishmash of
Mhm.
like stuff. I guess knickknacks. It's just knickknacks. Like that's
Yeah, knick-knack of emotions.
yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I feel like that definitely, like, relates to, like, everything that, we talked about for this topic too, is, like, if those things are supposed to come up, like, and if we don't release them after whatever gathering or a holiday event that we have to go to,
Yeah.
then they stay stuck and become anxiety or it becomes repressed emotions, and that's when we don't that's what we don't want. So these 10 tips are yes, are for during the event, but then our rituals and our tips and reminders for after are almost more important than the actual
Yeah.
tips for the event themselves. So making sure that definitely focus on cleansing that negative energy. So you have your survival tips for the gatherings, and you also have some great tips for afterwards of how to cleanse and release this negative holiday energy. So thank you as always for tuning in to Party with Becky and Kenzie, and we will see you in the new year.
Happy holidays.